not gonna steal his thunder, I'm gonna let him, take it in his section, and I'll brag on Marion, great job in the workshop, Marion,
Thanks.
appreciate it.
I'd say it was fun, but it would be a lie.
Yeah, right. We got through another year. That's it. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Auditor Vance.
Nothing at the moment, Mr. President.
Thank you. Safety Service Director, Mr. Shire.
I just have one item on the agenda tonight. Before I get to that, Dan, do you mind coming up here with me? You don't have to, but if you
Do it.
Because there,
Can I bring John?
on the News Journal website today, there was a press release, and it had to do with a partnership between the Port Authority and the City of Wilmington. And we hear about these numbers, you know, sometimes. I mean, we're in government, so we see large numbers, and then you see federal government numbers and stuff like that. This is a $1.1 million grant that we received from the Ohio Department of Development. $1.1 million for a town of 12,000. If you think about that, that's a lot of money for us. And it would, and I'm serious, it would not have been possible without the partnership with the Port Authority. We started meeting together on this, how long ago, a year ago? And it started with an idea, and the idea was we needed to fix Airborne Road, obviously. And we started talking, we sat down. You have the connections with the economic development people at the state. It went from there. And here we are, that we have a press release where we're receiving $1.1 million. Think about that, $1.1 million for this. And I don't know if you want to add anything, but thank you. Thank you.
It's gratifying. It's gratifying for our organization to see the fruit, see relationships bear fruit. It's gratifying to have open, constructive collaboration and dialogue, and to be able to work through a process that allows us to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, as opposed to trying to structure a relationship or an environment of collaboration from scratch. So we're fortunate to have that.
So yes.
And fortunate to have people like Jeff in this instrument.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you'll see, I'm sure this will be in the printed edition tomorrow, it's already online. And it probably wasn't the best kept secret. But, you know, Airborne Road has always been a project on our
You'll
radar.
hear from us, man.
But this is really, really exciting. It's part of our budget for next year and stuff. And Airborne Road, that's going to happen with the help of the Port Authority and the partnership that we've established with the state as well. So, kudos. Awesome. Thank you. Let's
Thank
keep
you.
it. Let's keep
Thank
it.
you.
No, let's keep doing it.
All right.
Let's keep doing it. So.
New budget year, we'll see what we can do.
Right.
And Mary Kay and I say, we're all set, thanks.
So that was, you know.
That's really the reason we did it. The reason we get up in the morning for, make you a Mary Kay.
No, I get up for Mary Kay.
That's same here. Yeah. So thank you. And yeah, I just wanted to.
It's our pleasure.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to say that out loud because now it's public and stuff. And we've been working behind the scenes on this for a while now.
Mhm.
And now that it's public, would not have happened without the Port Authority. So.
Well, it wouldn't happen without all of us. That's, as a practical matter. The help of Brian and the administration, with the help of Auditor Vance, our Jennifer and our team, and Kevin DeWine from CBD Advisors, who the board retains for legislative affairs kind of assistance, was pivotal in getting this thing going. So it is a genuine team effort. The folks at DOD were phenomenal as well, and very open to being creative. So.
And it looks like this will happen quickly. This will happen quickly too.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
It'll move very quickly. So I just thank you.
Thank you.
So So I got more good news last night as well. I was in Lebanon last night for our OPWC integrating committee is what they call it. And David's Drive is this elephant that we're trying to chew off one bite at a time. And I've said this from the beginning, it's you know, and I'm just throwing out a number, but you know, David's Drive is a reconstruction, it could be $10, $11 million to reconstruct that. And we've been looking at phases, and we've been trying to get as much funding as possible for David's Drive. We've already obtained $2 million from Small Cities Grants, okay? And we've been designing for phase one. Last night in Lebanon, it's a very highly competitive process, but the integrating committee has recommended that we receive an additional $400,000 in grant, free money for the city of Wilmington for phase one, in addition to $934,000 of a 0% loan, which would cover all of phase one. Now, I will say this.
Wow.
This
I
is me.
kissed him, will anybody
You
say?
wear the mask this way.
I will say this because I have brought it up and I'll bring it in public and council. It's a large project. At some point, we need to decide, council will need to decide, and the administration will need to decide if we want to continue to try to pursue phases and grants with additional mobilization costs, or do we want to look at something like a bond, or not a bond, I'm sorry. A note.
No.
I did not say bond, a note to do Davis Drive. Because I've already received text messages today and phone calls, Dan, that said, you're fixing Rombach Avenue, now you've got money for Airborne Road, I think you missed something in between, which is David's Drive. So David's Drive has always been the #1 complaint, ever since I came into this position. I've told you guys this, I can't go anywhere without somebody saying, when are you gonna fix David's Drive? And so now we've got Airborne under control, we've got Rombach in the process. David's Drive is something we're gonna have to talk about in the near future. Whether or not we're gonna continue to try to pursue these grants and do it in phases, or we're gonna bite the bullet and fund it with a note with our grants that we've already obtained and our OPWC loan. So that's something, that's a sneak peek preview for the future. I would like to get it done sooner than later. But I'm working with Auditor Vance, I'm working with the administration. But that's my goal. I want to get it done sooner than later so that we can move on to something else, because it is the #1 complaint that I receive from citizens. I don't know about you, but Davis Drive is definitely the #1 complaint. Okay, so I do have one piece of legislation. We have surplus property. We have very old vehicles that we want to put on gov deals and get rid of. So we have a first reading of Resolution 2143 declaring surplus property to get rid of these vehicles. You have the resolution there, but if do you have any questions about that? I do want to, let me mention one thing though, because this just came to my mind. Because I've been receiving a lot of calls about this. In front of Dairy Queen and Wendy's, they're calling me about, hey, you're installing a median there. That is a pedestrian refuge walkway that was actually requested by the business owners because they wanted the kids at the park to be able to go to Wendy's and Dairy Queen safely for ice cream and stuff like that. That is what that is. That is not a median. That's not what is being installed. And I want to remind everybody, and this is not popular, we said from the beginning that we were going to restrict left turns out onto Rombach Avenue. That is something that was disclosed to the property owners from the beginning. Part of our deal was to get rid of the median was that we would allow left turns in, access into properties, but we were going to restrict left turns out on Rombach. Anybody with any common sense, you don't need a traffic engineer to tell you this, left turns out of Wendy's, Dairy Queen, any of those businesses that are not at a traffic signal is extremely dangerous. And we have said that from the beginning. Mayor, you can jump in anytime because I know I'm on my soapbox right now. But we have always said we will restrict left turns out onto Rombach Avenue through striping, not through a median. That which is being constructed in front of Wendy's and Dairy Queen is a pedestrian crossing. It is not a median. And it was what was requested from the business owners to allow kids to get from, because they were running across Rombach Avenue, 4 lanes of highway. 5, yeah. Without, so, but believe me, I know you're hearing it, I'm hearing it, I'm gonna repeat it, we're gonna do a press release on it to say, this is what we agreed to, you know, pretty much. But that's something that's come up a lot, and I feel like a broken record, but we've said this before. We left turns out on Rollback that are not signal is extremely dangerous, and we always said we were gonna stripe it and not allow that, so.
Brian? Oh,
Yeah,
Question, would it be prudent to maybe amend the traffic control map that on that stretch of Romback Avenue, no left-hand turns will be permitted from those businesses?
so the traffic control, that's a whole nother issue, yeah. The traffic control map needs to be updated citywide, not just on Rollback, but
Well, I'm of the
citywide.
opinion that's the way we need to go. Put it in an ordinance, get it approved,
It needs to
that
be-
way it's legislation and it's there.
It needs to be updated citywide. Because we have speed limits that need to be updated as far as the traffic control map. That includes parking as well. All of that needs to be updated. That's something we're working on right now, including Rollback.
the pedestrian crossing, is that gonna be signalized?
It will have like the blinking lights and all that stuff, so when we push the button, it'll be, yeah.
So it'll be
Yep.
real obvious that
Yes,
there's
very
somebody
obvious,
that needs
yes.
to go across.
Yep.
Yes.
So that will not be a smart crosswalk, it'll be a button push?
So yeah, the pedestrian will push the button and then it'll flash
Okay, so when you
and then
step,
all the signals will adjust to
okay,
that.
so when you step on the pad, it won't automatically change.
No, you have to push the button, I
Okay.
believe, yeah. Yeah, but that's why that's there, that's why that refuge area is there for the pedestrian to get halfway through. If you go, I'm sure you guys have been to other communities and cities where they have those, where you go halfway through on a 5-lane, you know, I don't wanna say highway, but it is a highway, but that's there, that's what they have.
The mid-intersection pedestrian crosswalk island.
Refuge, yeah.
And it also, when you slow down and drive through, it changes the pedestrians' way they hold their body so they can look better too. So they look at, when you cross, they turn right and they have to face oncoming traffic and look, and then it readjusts them to cross. It's engineering.
It is.
It's person engineering, basically.
But I assume that you guys, you all were getting calls on this, I mean, I was, and so that's what it is. Any other questions? Lynn,
You didn't mention Lynn.
what do you want me to tell them, that it's,
It's
you know,
striped.
striped? It's striped, it'll be open soon, yeah. Yeah. Making progress. Anything else, did I miss anything there?
No, you did a great job.
Okay.
You always do.
All right, but I
Just
do have,
keeps getting
I
us
do
money,
wanna
doesn't
sell
it?
these crappy vehicles, so. I do have a piece of legislation here.
Okay, any other question about the legislation? If not, I would appreciate a motion to have the first reading of resolution 2143.
Move for first reading of resolution 2143.
Second.
Have a motion, second, first reading resolution 2143. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. May we have first reading, please?
A resolution declaring surplus property to wit, water, sanitation, and transit department vehicles and Sherwood Grove Cemetery equipment valued at more than $1,000 and authorizing the sale of said property.
Thank you. And I guess you're done.
I am finished, thank you.
All right. Council committee reports, City Revitalization Committee, Mr. Snar.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. City Services Committee, Mr. Evelyn.
No legislation this evening, I just want to echo, put me in the Brian Shaddicker fan club for what he's gotten done. And also Dan Evers, you guys have done a super job on putting that together. Look forward to your presentation at executive session. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Ms. Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. President. As previously discussed, we did walk through the 2022 budget earlier this evening during the budget workshop. So thanks for, again, everyone for your contributions. I know we've said that several times over, but it feels like we're in a really good position, especially with the readings and how we'll be able to space these apart, which I think is a really responsible way to pass a budget. thanks again, Marion. Your knowledge of every department in the budgets, and Mary Kay, I know you play a part in this too, but it's phenomenal, so thank you.
Thanks.
We are asking for the first reading on ordinance 2157 this evening, which is the budget, but I do want to open it up to any additional discussion or questions. Councilperson Learman, I don't know if you had a chance, we sent this out a few days ago, so hopefully you had an opportunity to review that.
Right. Can't skip it.
Did anyone have anything else that we did not get to cover in the budget workshop? All right, well, I will then ask for first reading on ordinance 2157 by title only.
Second.
Motion by Vickers, second by McKay, first reading, ordinance 2157. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May we have first reading, please?
An ordinance making appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures and creating necessary funds for said appropriations of the city of Wilmington, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022.
Thank you.
So we will prepare for the second reading at our meeting on December 2nd, and then we'll plan for the third reading on, I believe it's December 16th. All right. So we'll do one reading in the next meeting, and then one reading in, yes, the 16th.
Can we also have a discussion of the 22 budget on there as well?
Sure, we can add that to the
Keep-
next
keep
agenda.
that-
We can
keep
continue
that-
to
yeah,
discuss.
keep that on
No
there.
problem with that.
I think
I
that's
think you can
important
do it
since we
under
are
the
listening
agenda
to council
legislation.
people.
I didn't hear you.
Under the ordinance,
Yeah.
second reading, you can have that discussion too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. The next item that we have this evening, we have three readings on ordinance 2158, making supplemental appropriations. Let me run you through these quickly. Item A, this is the remaining disbursement for the Convention and Visitors Bureau hotel lodging tax. Item B is the $15,000 for the visiting judges' salaries. This is our portion that we pay to the county, actually, right?
And ultimately the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Okay, there we
No,
go.
they ask us, they ask. the
Eventually.
Yeah.
county- They ask the county for it, and we have to give it to the county. I'm not gonna go up against them, y'all can, but I'm not.
Right. So that's just our portion of that we've been invoiced for. Item C, this is municipal court travel, just additional that we need to cover with that. Item D, that's our final payment to the law library. Item E is remaining disbursements for the hotel lodging tax. Item F is remaining disbursements for the hotel lodging tax. And then the last item, from taxi fund to workers' comp, there was a negative balance in this line just due to too many transfers and appropriations to other lines, so just making that right. Any questions on the supplementals? Okay. I will ask for first reading on ordinance 2158 by title only.
Second?
Motion by Vickers, second by Snar, first reading, ordinance 2158. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May we have first reading, please?
An ordinance making supplemental appropriations.
And that's all you can do.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I knew you were getting ready to jump in.
Yeah.
Dead no tracks.
Yep,
Since-
so,
Doesn't help me any, but okay.
Well,
right,
and,
so,
All righty then.
and what do we need to do?
Yeah,
Are we,
Well, we'll just,
do we need a special?
I wouldn't, I mean, where these lines will remain, they'll be overgrown through the end of the month, and, but knowing full well that there was nothing we could do with people not being here, that we'll have, knowing we'll have the second, third at the next meeting, that's what I would plead my case when somebody says, what is going on? I'll blame you all. But we'll survive it. And I mean, if it was closer to the end of the year, absolutely. And so, that being said, if these sort of situation pops up with people maybe being out, and we're doing readings on stuff here at the end of the year and cleaning up line items and so forth, it's not outside the realm of possibility. We've done it in years past where we've had to have a really quick special at year end to tidy things up because, for whatever reason. So, I'll just lay that out there so nobody is surprised by it, because this exact same thing could happen again.
Yeah, and I'll just ask, if anyone won't be here in those next two meetings, particularly relating to anything finance or budget related, if you could let me know as well, just so we can plan.
Because otherwise, I'll see y'all for a third.
Okay, so we will ask for the second and third reading on ordinance 2158 on December 2nd.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we do not have anything further this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, Ms. Swindler's not here. Someone going to handle that for us?
I can do that. So, as you see, we got the first reading regarding the increase in water rates. We've discussed this on more than one occasion. Just a reminder, we're talking about approximately a $4 a month increase over $4 a month increase over 3 years. Rick has reminded us that the water bill includes many more things than water, wastewater collection and treatment, stormwater and fee and trash collection, etc. Also, there's going to be a public announcement out probably early next week explaining this. I think that was one of the things that came up 2 weeks ago. So that should be out Monday or soon after. Any questions?
Any other comments?
I'm not comment. I'm not totally sold on this yet. I recognize the need for a lot of capital improvements. What I term capital improvements, they may be interpreted as maintenance items and so forth, but when Rick presented this back in April, I believe, we had estimates on a lot of these big items, and many of them were deferred maintenance sorts of items that need to be done. The rate increase, I don't know how it's going to be used to handle those items. So if Rick were here, I would ask him, and I will ask him when he gets back, if he could put together a priority list of what these items are and what the cost of them is, because one of the things that we've hit the taxpayers with a lot of expenses this year, and they were good enough to grant our cemetery levy, and I don't think we can go into this without saying to them, look, okay, if we pass this, we will do this, this, this. These are the improvements we're going to make. In addition to which, the case needs to be made that for our bond indenture agreement for capital improvements, we have to maintain a 1.1 times coverage. And Mary Kay's telling me that we're pretty darn close to that right now. We cannot breach that, otherwise we're in violation of our bond indenture agreement, which has quite horrible ramifications, including somebody else taking over our water system.
Somebody else will tell us what that rate is. You lose that power.
So I'm not going to say I'm not in favor of it, but there's just got a lot of questions that if the question were called tonight, I have to vote no, because I don't have the answers to the questions. I think we could get them between now and that final reading. But I think we all need to go into it with our eyes open, seeing what the priorities are, what that money's going to be spent for, so we can say specifically to the people, if we do this, this is what we're going to do, and we do it. And that's all that's said. As I said, I'm not totally against it. I'm just, I want to be able to explain it to my constituents, and I'm sure you do too.
I understood from our discussion in the last meeting that a portion of this is due to rise increased costs that we're experiencing. So how do we, we have to, the price of everything is up, and I mean, as much as I don't want to pass it on either, we do have to look at that for this reason with.
Exactly, and I'd like to know more specifically what we're seeing as far as those operating costs are concerned. I know they're there. They're in every walk of life. I paid $9.79 for a pound of ham, sliced ham at Kroger's last week, and that's just food. I mean, and I'm very close to the construction trades, and you think food's bad, You ought to be looking at construction costs, because it'll scare you. I don't know, there was just a couple things I was talking to my kid about, is there another alternative to just paying for it cash out of pocket? You know, maybe long-term financing would be an option. I don't know. If you can lock in low rates on something, maybe it would be prudent to do it now. I don't know. That's the kind of questions I think I'd like to get resolved for the next meeting. I think I can, because Rick's usually very good at getting back to you with answers on questions like that. I think there are questions that need to be asked.
Are we still doing this in 3 separate readings? Is that how I understood from the last meeting? We're not gonna do it 1 and 2, we're gonna do it 1, 2, and 3?
The minutes reflect.
I'm just asking that.
I think it's 3 separate.
That's what I understood it to be, so I just wanted to reiterate that.
Any other comments?
Yeah, and we have to be very careful when we talk about borrowing and bonding and all of that stuff, because you have to be very specific in your project. And Nick and I discussed this stuff, so I think it deserves discussion so that everybody can understand where I come from, where I sit, and where you all come from, representing your constituents. And so, you know, we all just need to be open about that discussion. Yeah.
So do you want to contact him directly and ask him for that?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to ask him for that information, or do you want to contact him?
I'll contact him. I'll get it to Brian, he can pass it down the line. Pretty simple, just a series of questions that I think we can answer fairly easily.
Other comments? Okay. Make a motion to give first reading only on ordinance 2152 by title only.
Second.
Motion by Snar, second by Pickard. First reading, ordinance 2152. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Could we have the first reading, please?
An ordinance amending chapter 929 of the codified ordinances of the city of Wilmington in order to provide for an increase in water rates, repealing any and all legislation inconsistent herewith.
Anything else under public works? Not, we'll move on to solid waste. Mr. McKay?
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. And report to council, you have the auditor treasurer's report. What is your pleasure?
Move it be accepted as presented.
Second.
Motion second to accept the auditor treasurer's report as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The auditor treasurer's report is accepted as presented. Now we open the meeting to the public. Anyone would like to address council, please come forward with comments as concise as you can. Seeing no one. We do have an executive session on our agenda, and I would ask for a motion to go into executive session by following the proper specifics. So I'd like to have a motion for that.
So moved.
No, I need you
Yeah,
to
we-
state.
To read.
I move that the council go into executive session pursuant to section 121.22G subsection 8 to consider confidential information related to marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, personal financial statements of an individual applicant for economic development assistance or for 2 negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Evelyn, second by Learman, to go into executive session. May we have roll call, please?
Learman,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Snar,
Yes.
Bicker,
Yes.
Evelyn.
Yes.
Motion carries to go into executive session.
So tall like me.
Anyone not associated with this discussion, I would ask that you leave the premises. You're welcome. I don't
Respectfully,
know.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry, say that.
respectfully, Mr. President, could Council-elect Osborne stay?
I I guess I assumed he was going to leave.